guys, it's Hope from Hopefully Created and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be learning how to make a beach tumbler. I've seen a lot of horizontal and a lot of vertical designs, but I've never seen a swirl beach design, so I decided to give it a try and I really love how it came out. I'll be showing you step by step on how to make this, so let's go. So as always, I do make my tumblers epoxy free. I use a non-toxic product called Brite by the Crystal Company. It's linked in the description. And you're going to want to start off with your sanded tumbler. I'm going to be using a 32-ounce water bottle. I have sanded it with the Dawn Power Wash and a 400 grit sanding pad. You're going to want to tape off the top of the tumbler so that we can protect that rim. Next, it's time to paint your tumbler. I'm going to be using the Universal White from the Crystal Company. It's a paint and primer in one. I'm using white because since I'll be using different glitter colors, white's probably my best option. When base painting my tumbler, I always like to use either a flat brush or a blush brush from the Crystal Company. Here I'm going to be using a flat brush, which I'll have linked below in my Amazon storefront. The flat brush helps create a nice and even coat all around the cup. After you're done painting, you're going to want to set it aside and let it dry for 2 hours and do a second coat if needed. So after I let it dry, here is me applying a second coat of Universal White. I feel like one coat is really never enough, so I always like to do 2 coats to get a nice and even base paint. After I let my tumbler dry for 2 hours, it was ready to glitter. Here are the glitter colors that I'm going to be using for this tumbler. I'll be using the gold for the sand, the greenish color for after the sand, and then the 2 blues in that order. For my adhesive, I'll be using the glitter glue from the Crystal Company, which will be linked down below. I'm also going to be using this blush brush from the Crystal Company to help spread my glue. I really love these brushes because it just allows the glue to spread on very evenly. So you're just going to put your glue on your tumbler and just spread it around a nice and even coat all around the tumbler. Make sure to get the bottom, the edges, and the rim. Once you've done a nice and even coat all around your tumbler, I like to go around one more time to make sure there's no dripping or pooling in any areas and it's a nice, even, and thin coat. Alright, so first we're going to be going in with our gold glitter for our sand. You're going to want to place it on your tumbler in a swirl direction. Don't worry if it's not perfect the first time or if you don't have great coverage, because you can do a second coat of glitter, which is what I'm going to be doing. And don't forget to put something under your tumbler to catch your glitter, because we are not wasting glitter over here. Once you're done with your gold, give it a nice shake off to shake off any excess and move on to your next color. Next, you're going to go in with your lighter green color. You're going to want to put it on both sides of the gold. So I'm going to be doing the same swirl direction as the gold and doing that on the left side and the right side of the gold. Next, you're going to go in with your lighter blue color. You're going to do a light blue swirl right after the green swirls on both sides. And here I decided to do the bottom of my tumbler the light blue color just because of personal preference. You can choose to do whatever color you'd like on the bottom. I just chose to do it the light blue. Lastly, we're going to be going in with our dark blue. You're going to want to fit that in right in between the two lighter blue swirls. Once you're done, give it a nice little shake off and you're going to let it dry for 2 hours. After about an hour, I did spray my tumbler with E6000 spray to seal in my glitter so I wouldn't have any fallout. As you can see here, I'm rubbing my hand on the tumbler and there's no fallout. So E6000 spray is great to seal in your glitters. I'll have it linked below in my Amazon storefront. So now we're going to be doing a second coat of glitter. I'll be using glitter glue again as my adhesive, and you're just going to want to do a nice and even coat all around the tumbler. As you can see here, as I'm spreading my glue around the cup, there is no glitter movement. So that's why I think E6000 is a must. Just make sure that you get the spray and not the glue, because the spray is a non-toxic version of E6000, and so it's really important to be using non-toxic products with the Crystalac Brite Tone. So now we're going to be going in with our second coat of glitter and be doing the same exact order as we did before. So first I'll be doing my gold swirl for my sand. Here you'll see me kind of holding my cup at an angle to create like an ombre waterfall effect, so it allows the glitters to blend nicely. Next you'll be going in with your light green color and you're going to do the same swirls right after the gold on both sides. Okay, so here I did decide to switch it up. I used the darker blue and I put it right over where I had done the darker blue before, just because I felt like it was gonna blend nicer. So I did the darker blue and then I will do the lighter blue in between. So our second coat of glitter is done, and I think that second coat of glitter makes a huge difference. It allows the colors to blend so beautifully. I had to take this outside just to show you how beautiful these colors were in the sunlight and how pretty they blended together. Also, don't forget to spray your tumbler with E6000 spray after your second coat of glitter so that your glitter does not move and it's sealed all in place. Your tumbler's dried for about 2 hours. It's time to go in with your top coat. So I'll be using Brite Tone from the Crystalac company, and you're just going to want to do a nice thin layer all around your tumbler, but make sure that you have enough to cover your glitter. Remember that Brite tone is non-toxic, so you do not need to wear any PPE. You can use it inside your home and just apply it directly with your hand. It comes in a bottle ready to use. There's no mixing, and that's exactly what I love about it. You can recoat your tumbler every 4 hours. I did about 4 coats. I did a sand. I did an additional 3 coats. I sanded, and then my tumbler was ready for decals. So here's my tumbler, nice and smooth after my last sand. I want to say I did about 7 to 8 coats of Brite tone, but don't use that exact number as a base or a rule. You really have to go based on how your tumbler feels. As you become more experienced with Brite tone, your layers will be cut down a lot. So it just takes practice. Don't be frustrated, just keep trying. Okay, so now it's time to paint on our waves. Now that our tumbler is completely smooth, I'll be using the universal white to paint my waves. I had a little bit of a hard time getting the paint out here, so don't judge me. But once I got it out, we were all good to go. So I'll be using that as my paint color for my waves. Okay, so now that I finally got the paint out, now it's time to paint our waves. So I got a spongy kind of like stiff brush. I don't know why. This brush is super old, but it just works great for this. So, and I just did little like C's around where the gold and the green meet. I do realize that I'm a little out of frame here, but don't worry, because when I do the other side, I'll totally be in frame. It's hard to record and create at the same time sometimes. So I am going to speed it up here since I am out of frame, but when I do the other side, I will make sure I do not speed it up so you can see exactly how I did my waves and how I spread them out so that it looked like it just blended into the ocean. Okay, so finally, here is when I realized I was out of frame. So after you do those little C's in the in the shoreline, you're gonna want to get like a bristled, like spread apart bristled brush and use that same paint that's still wet and kind of just drag it out into the green. Okay, so once you've dragged it out as much as you can, I personally think it's better when you go over it again. So you'll see me now going around the initial waves, so where I did like the C shapes, and I'm going to be going around them again with more paint. So now you see it's a little bit more vivid, and I'll be doing that all around to the bottom. Now you're going to be taking your other like spread apart bristle brush and then do the same thing over again, taking that wet paint and dragging it out into the green so that it looks like it just blends right into the water. Alright, so I was kind of happy with how this looked. So here's how that side's looking, and now you're going to want to do the exact same thing on the other side. Okay, so now I'm going to be taking my paintbrush and doing my little C shapes. They don't have to be perfect C's, just more like, just imagine the shore and just do little C's, like little waves, all the way into the end of the cup. Okay, so once I've done my little C's, my little curves, all the way down to the tumbler, it's now time to take that same paint while it's still wet and drag it down into the green. Okay, so here I'm going to be going in a second time just because I just think it makes it a little bit more vivid and it just looks nicer. So I'm doing a second coat all around my waves, my little C shapes, and then I'm just going to continue after that, take my other brush and just spread it out again into the green until I'm satisfied with the way it looks. Okay, so once I did my second coat, I was happy with how it looked. It looks like the waves blended into the green pretty, it blends into the water, and so I was satisfied with the way it looked, so I set it down and I let it dry. As my tumbler was drying, I decided to prepare my decal. So I made this sun-kissed decal, and I measured my tumbler and I made sure that it would fit well. I decided that 6.2 inches was big enough, and I made an offset for it in gold. So I was able to print out my decals with my Cricut. I printed out the white and the gold. So here you'll see me weeding out my white sun-kissed decal for my tumbler. Now I'll be weeding out my gold offset, which is going to go behind the white. So here I'm going to be using transfer tape. I also have that link below in my Amazon storefront. It is the best transfer tape I have ever used. I've been using it for 2 years and it's just amazing. So I'm going to take that, put it over my white, peel it off, and then put that on top of my gold offset. Here I'm using a squeegee or a scraper, whatever you want to call it, to make sure that both vinyls are adhered really well. So I'm just pressing it down, making sure that it's adhered well to each other, and then that when I pull up my transfer tape, it will pull up both. So now I'm going to be placing my decal on my tumbler at an angle because it is a diagonal beach. So I'm going to be placing my decal diagonally across the sand. Okay, so here it is. I really like the placement of the decal, but I decided that I needed one more thing. So I'm going to be adding some footprints to my tumbler. I'm going to be using a UV reactive vinyl to add my footprints. I really thought that would be a cool touch because if you bring your tumbler out to the sun, these light sandy colored footprints will turn blue. So I thought that would give it a nice little touch to the tumbler. Okay, so now I'm really done with the decals. I think the feet were a cute touch, and now I'll be adding my sticker to the bottom, which has my logo and the care instructions for the tumbler. I add this to all of the tumblers that I make. Okay, so since our tumbler's all done with our decals, it's now time to begin sealing our tumbler. So you're just gonna add a nice thin coat of Brite tone and repeat as needed. After I decal a cup, once I begin sealing it, I wait till about 5 or 6 layers of Brite tone to sand, so I do not scratch my decals. So after about 6 layers of Brite tone, I did sand until it was completely smooth, and then I added an additional 3 coats until I got a nice shiny finish. Here's our completed water bottle. I think it came out beautiful. I love it. I love the blending of the colors. I love the waves. I loved everything about it, and I especially love the footprints. You'll see the tumbler in the light so you can see how the footprints change colors to a blue color. As always, guys, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. I'll be happy to answer. And if you recreate this, please tag me on Instagram at HopefullyCreated. I'd love to see how your tumbler came out. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.